Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, Don, we on, baby. What's up?
What's going on, Coach?
What's up?
What's going on, man? It's a pleasure to be here this Tuesday evening. You know what time it is, man?
Hey, you know what time it is? The Coach Me Coach podcast number 3 already, man. We 3 weeks into this deal, man. It seems like we just started and almost literally 3 weeks into this deal, man. So
It's that
again,
time
super
change,
excited.
man. It's that time change.
Yes, it is, man. Yes, it is. You know, like I said, we got a couple of people in the building already. We know we've been kind of doing our little conference breakdown, and we started off with the Big Ten. You know, that's your neck of the woods, being an Ohio State guy, and we broke that down, man. We had a lot of love, a lot of good response to it. And guess what? Coach Hayes blew the internet up today. I broke down every one of the segments and made it his own video. So, you know, if you got a favorite team, you could just watch that, or you can watch the whole thing. Or if you got a buddy or somebody you want to share that out with, go ahead and share that out to them, and then let them go ahead and get on here and subscribe, because we want to make this Coach Me Coach podcast big, because we got a lot of good things happening with it right now. We only got 8 in the building, 9 or 10 in the building. All right, there we go. So we climbing, man. Big shout out to Bottom 11. I appreciate you stopping by, hanging out with us as we do the Coach Me Coach podcast. As we start these off, we've started with our breaking news of the week. Last week we talked about Tom Brady coming back to the NFL. He said he's coming out of retirement. I think he was in retirement for about 3 weeks, maybe a month, if that. And so this week we want to talk about Deshaun Watson. Whoa, $230 million Deshaun Watson, if you ask me. Dom, let's talk about this. What is it leaving from the Texans? With all, you know, he had his whole deal going on with the massage parlors and all of that kind of stuff, and the woo wah. You know, everybody probably heard about that. And then he ends up going over to the Cleveland Browns, and it was a big deal with Baker Mayfield being upset. He kind of preempted his letter, kind of prior to everything going on, hearing about them flying down to Texas and so forth and so on. You being the guy that you are, and I know you are super detailed and you got all the scoop on this, I'm going to sit back and enjoy this piece. Talk to us about Deshaun Watson and his new deal.
So, $230 million, every cent of that is guaranteed. Largest contract in NFL history. I will say, guys, like if you are a guy like Lamar Jackson, seeing this, that QB market just went up, especially since guys like him are entering contract negotiations soon. So the interesting thing about this is $230 million, every cent is guaranteed. So in terms of research, the Browns came out with a statement, the Haslam family. They said they did their research. And so pretty much they didn't talk to the accuser side. They just talked to Deshaun's side. Naturally, you talk to his side, they're going to presume him to be not guilty, which is the stance that they're taking. Now, it's important to remember, 22, all the criminal charges, it was dropped out of criminal court, but it's still something ongoing in civil court. So he has 22 civil charges. So what the Browns did for his contract that saves him, so the exact number, I have it down, is $1 million, pretty much $1,035,000. So 1.35 million. His first year. Here's why that's important. That's what his first year salary of the 5-year deal, year one, is that 1.35 million. That is important because the Browns are anticipating a suspension. Now, if this gets interesting, if he's off the hook or whatever the case might be, I'm not sure if there's a clause that they can go back and renegotiate that contract. But essentially, he is only going to get paid $1.35 million his first year. Assuming he gets suspended, that $1.35 million covers every game, all 17 games. So essentially, if he's suspended all 17 games, that is the amount of money that would equate to the game check.
Oh, your
And so-
headset
and so-
went out. Your headset went out, Don.
Oh, beautiful.
You on mute.
Okay. How's that? Can you hear me now? Are we good? Yeah. Can you hear me now? Oh, you see, now I can't hear you. All right. Can you hold on? All right. Can you hear me now? All right. Can you hear me now? Yeah, I can't hear you either. Hold on.
All right, you got me?
Yeah, I got you. Okay.
All right. I'm not sure what happened. Technology, but go ahead. You cut out, but go ahead, no problem.
Like I said in my podcast, technology is stupid and I hate it.
Gift and a curse.
But essentially, man, so where did I leave off?
You were talking about, it says I'm on mute. Am I still on mute, Calvin Dixon? Let me get a thumbs up. Everything is good in the chat. Everything says good. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Hold on. Let me see. Technology, bro. It's terrible.
I was going into it, man, and then all of a
Yeah,
sudden,
you were rolling too.
I have my notes and everything, wrote all these notes down and all this stuff, but it's all good.
Let me see. Okay, so we good now. All right.
We good.
We good now. All right. Go ahead. Rock on, brother. I'm sorry.
So I'll just start with the 1.35 million. So essentially they are anticipating a suspension. So the 1.35 million would be equivalent to every game check that he would get. That's how the contract is structured. That's going to make that 1.35 million, and then you're going to make the 200 and however much left in year 2 through year 5. So 1.35 million. Every cent of that will probably, if he's suspended, that is the max. That's pretty much what he is going to be fined, or if you will, that's the equivalent of the game check. So that is how the contract is structured. I've never seen anything like this because they're really looking out for him. And like I said, things get interesting if some of these civil cases come back and somehow, I don't have a heaven or hell to put him in. I don't know. I'll be honest. I haven't, dug too deep. Well, really dug extremely deep in this case. I have, the understanding of what I'm explaining, but some of those civil cases come back to it, where it clears him. The NFL does not have a rich history of suspending people who abuse women. However, if you gamble like Calvin Ridley for $1,500, you're suspended the entire season. But somebody like Ray Rice, the initial suspension was 2 games, and it was on video. And so that's an interesting, team, obviously, with the Browns, and they went out and signed a backup quarterback to a pretty decent deal. I forgot his name, didn't write that part down. Like I said, they're anticipating a suspension, and I think that I think they're prepared for Deshaun next year. Not this coming NFL season, but the next NFL season. He'll probably get some preseason games and all of that.
Right.
But Yeah, that's what it is. That's a team. And here's the thing, man. I think you can agree with it. The problem is we look to the NFL to be the moral standard for society when it's all about, like Al Davis said, just win, baby. It's just all about winning. Winning triggers more money. And I guarantee you, if Deshaun Watson wins a Super Bowl, it will be a story, but the Browns, none of them are going to be missing meals. That's just kind of the way it is. That's the culture.
Yeah.
Not saying that I agree with it, but if you're, like I said, if you're looking for the NFL to be the moral standard, Calvin Ridley cannot play for an entire year for $1,500 for something that was legal in the state of Florida, and he bet on himself. So it's not like he was point shaving, in the game.
Right.
So
Right.
So yeah, man, that's how it is. That's how it is, unfortunately.
Nah, that's huge, man. Like I say, I mean, our breaking news of the week is the Deshaun Watson, new contract for $230 million, guaranteed every cent of it. Like I said, I guess they are. And when you brought up the salary part about the $1 million, it's kind of interesting because if I just do my math right, I guess you probably make more than that in a game of $230 million. That's probably what it covers all of the fines for maybe being suspended, not necessarily salary, right?
Well, because they did it in such a unique way. Look, realistically speaking, if you're making $240 million, your first year is not going to be $1 million.
Right.
And so, like I said, that's what makes this so weird. And so kind of unparalleled because they really looked out for him. And like I said, that's the amount that he would lose on a per game basis. So they really, really looked out for him.
Right. Because how I look at it, just simple math for me, right? 5 into 200 is 40. That's $40 million a year, right? And he's only on the hook for $1 million. So yeah, like you said, they looked out for him. They put some things in place, but again, right? It's all about the dollar, and that's just what it is, man. At the end of the day, man. Like the OJs, I think it was the OJs. Almighty dollar.
Yeah, for the love of money. I'm thinking cash rules everything around me.
There you go. Get the money. Dollar bills, y'all. Well, listen, man, we like to start it off that gets people in. I know we got 28 right now in the building. Appreciate it. My producer's in the building, Haitian Ellen. She gonna edit. Everybody got to hit the like button. She gonna let you know, hit the like button and get this thing rolling. Share this deal out. We're talking today about the ACC, but we're only dealing with the Coastal. We did the Big Ten last week, and it was really hard to get all, I think, 12 teams into that 1 hour segment. So we're going to break this up into 2 parts, and we're just doing the Coastal today. So that's part 1, and then next week we'll do part 2. So let's go ahead and jump into this thing. We're going to kind of split this up in regards of the teams, and we'll start this off right now as a preview of the ACC. And of course, if you know me, my beloved Canes are in this conference and in this division. So we're going to get into that part. But let's kick this thing off. Let's start this off right now with Duke.
Why did you give me the first one? First.
We're going to get it out the way, baby. Let's get it out the way, baby.
Hayes, I kid you not. So if you see me on my phone, I got, notes trying to organize everything. I typed in, when I was doing research for this, I typed in Duke. Do you know what the first thing that popped up?
Basketball, Coach K retiring?
No. The first thing that popped up when I typed in Duke football was, will Duke ever be good at football? I kid you not. Wow. Here's the interesting thing about Duke. They have a new head coach, Mike Elko. People, if you've been around football, you know a little bit about Mike Elko. He was an award finalist for an assistant coach, the top assistant coach. Texas A&M, he had that defense humming with, recruiting talent. Well, I'm not even going to say recruiting talent. That was Jimbo. And whatever bag is being dropped down in College Station. Sorry, I just had to say it. But the interesting thing about Duke, man, they return 50 kids. They return 50 players to the rosters, 14 starters. And so Elko has vowed that he's going to get this program on track. They got a lot of talent that they're bringing back at the linebacker position. They got some receivers that they're bringing back. Now they have to find someone to chuck the ball around. They play some interesting games, man. Some of the ones that I see, obviously the in-conference games, but got teams like North Carolina A&T, and then they have Virginia at home, North Carolina at home, Virginia Tech at home, Wake Forest at home. So they have some of their bigger games at home. So we'll see if he can bring that energy and toughness to Duke, or if it'll just continue to be a basketball school. But I will say this, David Cutcliffe, Duke did not have the talent, but I will say this, for the lack of talent that they had, he did a really good job. I'll give that to him because those two jobs in the Power 5 conferences, to me, Vanderbilt and Duke are very tough jobs to really do. And I think Derek Mason and David Cutcliffe should be commended for the jobs that they did during their times there.
I totally agree. You kind of just took the words out of my mouth when I talked about Cutcliffe. When they say you can't get blood from a turnip. Well, I think he got one drop because he squeezed every ounce of talent. And again, back to the Canes, right? I mean, we going one of the biggest, 25 lateral pass games ever, whatever the case may be. And he had them on the map. I just think he got all he could out of it. I don't know if the university was willing to invest into the football program. And I say this over and over again, administration is huge when it comes to the success of anything, right? I don't care if it's a corporation, a football program, even when it comes to Little League soccer. If the soccer moms are not on the same page, it's not going to work. And I just think, they gave him enough to keep him happy, but I don't think they truly invested into that program to get it what it is. And you have to also remember this. Duke is a very high academic institution. Every conference has a school like that, like a Vanderbilt, like a Duke, like a Stanford, like a Northwestern, right? That they're very selective on a lot of the players that they get. They may make some exceptions, but for the most part, they're not going to make that many in that case, man. So again, Duke could be a team that you have to look out and see. Again, that's going to be a big challenge for the new coach there. And we'll just see what it ends up being, man. We'll definitely find that out as well. Let's get into one of these teams that is very tough to play at home, Blacksburg, Virginia, and that's Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech, Hokies, the Turkeys, whatever you want to call them. I mean, I'm not insulting anyone.
No.
But I'm just saying the Hokies, man, they play tough football all the time. And it was Beamer ball there for many years. And talk to us about Virginia Tech.
Virginia Tech's going to be interesting, more interesting than I actually thought they would. On offense, it's a complete overhaul. So we really don't know what that offense is going to look like. Brent Pry, defense coordinator from Penn State, is now at Virginia Tech. And he was able to close strong in recruiting. I think they ended up with the 34th ranked class or whatever, which was, an improvement because, you have guys, who leave and everything when you have a new coach, but he was able to secure some big commitments. And then he has connections along the East Coast. He has those kids in Philadelphia, and then he's a strong recruiter in Maryland. And then there's some talent in the state of Virginia. The problem is they just go everywhere else. They go all across the state. There's a lot of FSU, Ohio State, Penn State battles. I'm sure even teams like Miami gets in some of that Virginia talent. And so
North Carolina.
Oh, yeah, and NC State. And so if he can kind of close that state, that's a quick turnaround. I'm not saying, Virginia has national championship, or obviously, that's the beautiful thing about just, football. You need players from each state to get the strengths, but they have talent to compete and I believe get to an ACC championship if he can secure that talent. The defense is going to be good because they have a lot of returning players. They have their, returning starters coming back. I think their top 4 leading tacklers are going to be back, and he runs an aggressive scheme. I know Dax Holyfield, middle linebacker, he's anchoring that defense. He's going to come back. And he's bringing some of the Penn State staff with him. Penn State, one thing that they're known for is they can develop linebackers like none other. And so now that you have a veteran linebacking core, and his linebackers play aggressive, they play downhill. They're asked to do things, but they always have successful linebackers in his system. And I think Virginia Tech is good there. Like I said, offensively, they're in some trouble. You don't know what they're going to. And I really can't say that because it just kind of depends on which side of the coin, because we have so many questionable teams. I hate to say it in this conference that you just don't know what you're getting. There's no consistency. North Carolina was expected to go to the college football playoff by some, respectable people in the media, but, they lost in what was the Mayo Bowl?
Oh, they end up going 7-6.
Yeah. So, there's no consistency. You do not know what you're getting, and we're going to get to that later on. But it'll be interesting. I think Virginia Tech, if they can get some sort of a balance on offense, I think the defense can keep them in games, but I think they have to get something going on offense to stay competitive. So they'll be a team to watch for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when you look at Virginia Tech, and let me put this comment up here. Somebody just said, here we go. Insane DW says, in my opinion, the DMV area, which is DC, Maryland, Virginia, for those that don't know, has some really good talent, but they don't get the recognition that I think they deserve.
Yeah.
This is big because I went to school in Virginia.
Really?
And so they're surrounded by, like you said, they're surrounded by, the Marylands, the North Carolina, the NC States, the Penn States. All of these schools are around them, and people are just pulling from them. And then you have some kind of people who come in, like Ohio State pulling out the Travion Henderson and those type of guys. Tony Grimes leaving out of Virginia Beach, going down to play at North Carolina. And we'll talk about him in a second when we get to North Carolina. But yeah, they got to be able to put a fence up. And they're really the only two major colleges in the state, Virginia and Virginia Tech. But again, like I said, 3 hours in each direction, you got a bunch of schools around there. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, man. So that's VTech as a whole, as we look at it. And again, they got a lot of things going on. And in this conference, we have a lot of coaching changes as well, man. So we'll look at that. Last on your list is now UVA, as we brought them up. UVA, the Cavaliers in the building, man. They had the one-handed receiver wearing 98 out there catching balls all over the Hurricanes, man, killing us. So talk to us about the Cavaliers.
Tony Elliott from Clemson will be their head coach, The good thing for Tony Elliott is that he has Brendan Armstrong, the quarterback, coming back. That kid, he's tough. He's tough. And so to have him coming back, that's huge. My question is for them is they got to do something about that offensive line, because they were supposed to have one of the better offensive lines, at least from what I heard last year, and I didn't see that when I saw him play. And defensively, it was like watching 7-on-7, watching the play. So those are the two areas I think he has an uphill battle where that roster is concerned. But having Brendan Armstrong come back is really, really key for them. My question is, you see, with Clemson had great talent, specifically on defense. Offense, the two things that I noticed, they did not have an offensive line, because Trevor Lawrence and Deshaun Watson, we look at that Alabama comeback, but there was some hits. Like, I don't know if you remember when Deshaun Watson got hit and did the helicopter. That. But the great quarterback play covered a multitude of issues. That's not going to be the case at Virginia. And then the receiving talent. They have one or two, Mike Williams, Hunter Renfrow, and all that stuff. But, we talked about it. They had some guys transfer out. So we're really going to see what Tony Elliott's system is, because if it's something that, got exposed against a team like Ohio State, who didn't have the best defense, and then throughout the year, last year, then I think I want to say UVA is going to digress, but it may not be smooth sailings for them.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at UVA, like you say, Tony Elliott comes in, and this is the true sign if you can coach, right? Check this out. He leaves a great program stacked with talent. This is no knock. But now, can he David Cutcliffe this thing, right? Can he come in with less talent and be productive? Can he come in with less talent and squeeze that drop of blood out that turnip, right?
You're saying,
And we're going to find out real quick. A lot of guys, and I know that's just kind of how it goes, right? That's just kind of how it moves. That position coach becomes coordinator goes and becomes head coaches. Those are typically the first candidates,
right?
Are coordinators, and we're going to find out if he can do that, if he can improve the Cavaliers offensively. Probably he should, but defense should be a big question. I do have one question. As I kind of was looking through this thing, I know they were talking about the running back they had last year was Wayne Talapapa. I hate jacking up last names, so I'm just going to call him Wayne T. They say he entered the transfer portal and hasn't landed anywhere and may end up coming back. I'm not sure if you've heard anything on that or not, but he did dip out to the transfer portal and has not necessarily landed anywhere at this point. So
as of right now, I'm looking at their depth chart and let me look again. I haven't heard anything. But the guy that I do know that they're excited about is a guy by the name of Xavier Brown.
Freshman.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so they believe that like he's the truth. Kid from Kentucky. And so we'll have to see. It would be a big boost to get him back, but they're really, really high, on this freshman kid that they have coming or have in the program, Xavier Brown.
Gotcha, man. Well, like I say, those are the front three that we've done right now. So we've talked about Duke, we talked about Virginia Tech, and we talked about Virginia. We have three left right now, and that's going to be Pittsburgh,
North Carolina,
and my beloved U. So we're gonna jump into this real quick before we get into
wait. I just forgot something.
Okay.
We did this to Illinois last week, and we're doing it this week. I forgot Georgia Tech.
Oh my God, I did forget Georgia Tech. What's up, Cole Pepper? You in the building, baby? Oh man, we forgot G Tech, man. I know a couple guys on that staff. I'm sorry.
I forgot Georgia Tech. They will be interesting because of the talent that they have on the team. They had a really good recruiting class, and they're getting some good kids out of the state of Florida, man. They're starting to get some good kids out of Georgia. For me, it all starts up front. Just like the basic fundamentals. Demetrius, what's going on? I think did I mess that name up?
No, you did right, Demetrius Abrams.
Okay, what's going on, brother? Always good to see you, man. But yeah, I think they could be interesting. They have to, and it's so weird. And I hope they give Coach Collins some time. I hope they give him a couple more years. Georgia Tech has traditionally, because you got to realize something. This man had to replace an entire roster that was set to, this wing T offense that have been done for so many years. And now you have to get new guys who can actually pass block instead of just run block. You have to get receivers who can actually catch, not just block. And it's which is crazy because Georgia Tech has some really good receivers, come through. So I hope they give him time because he's stocking up the talent. And I think if they give him a couple more years, then they can start to see some fruit there.
Yeah, definitely. Like I say, I mean, Coach Collins, man, has been there. Got a good friend of mine, Kerry Dixon's over there. And they spend a lot of time. They spend a lot of time in the state of Florida, especially here in the Central Florida area. Yeah. Those guys spend a lot of time here recruiting, getting those guys. And you just said a mouthful, right? A lot of people don't realize when you go to that kind of change from that style of offense to this style, one or two guys is not going to make a difference. It is, you said overhaul, it is literally a complete strip it to the bare bones, strip it to the 2x4s, to the studs, and rebuild that thing. And that's what he has to do. And he's gotten some players. He's gotten players so good that Gibbs was taken away, or I'm sorry, maybe entered the transfer portal.
He got
to go to Alabama.
Listen, call a spade a spade.
Hey, man.
When Saint, like Shannon Sharp calls him, when Saint Nick came calling, Gibbs was out of there.
Yeah. I mean, and so you look at it, that's a talent. That was a diamond in the rough that no one really knew about. Or maybe he was low on the recruiting totem pole with stars, or maybe didn't go to camps or whatever it is. And they saw something in him, and he performed at Georgia Tech, helped them get going. And now he's been plucked from the from Atlanta. And he's going from the ATL to Tuscaloosa, baby. All right. And so that's just kind of what it is. And so for all the Georgia Tech fans, I apologize. We didn't mean to leave you guys out. We're just super excited because we're on our third show already. This is episode number 3 of the Coach Me Coach podcast with myself, Coach Hayes, and Dom Smith. Let me just get a couple of these right here. Somebody says here, Warren Hill. What's up, Warren? He says, WRE, which is our Watch, React, and Evaluate shows where we look at all the top talent in the nation. Coach Me Coach, excellent shows that are truly informative and educational. You're going to be a household name sooner enough. Grateful as a fan to see these types of programs. Warren, thank you as always, man. I truly appreciate that, man. That means a lot to us. But we put a lot of effort into this stuff, guys, believe it or not. And ladies, we put a lot of effort. Herschel says Georgia Tech always had a decent defense.
Had is the key word. They suck. I'm sorry.
Especially on the backside, man. They were tough. It was
117th last year.
Yeah, it was tough. Yeah. It was tough, man. So let's go ahead and flip this script. We're already 32 minutes into this deal. I know we talked about a couple of things, but we're 32 minutes into this deal. So I'm going to go ahead and give you the wheel and go ahead and we can talk about this thing. And we'll talk about, again, we're talking about Pittsburgh. We want to talk about North Carolina and then the University of Miami.
So here's what we're going to do. We're going to bunch these up. North Carolina and Pittsburgh. Just give me something on them so we can have. Oh, I saw that comment. I didn't see it all.
That was good.
Oh, hey. Appreciate you, Jalen. Appreciate that. Appreciate the support.
Thank you so much. Mm-hmm.
Because I have questions about Miami. So what can you say? So actually, I'll be fair. Let's start with the Tar Heels. Let's start with the Heels.
Okay.
Let's start with the Tar Heels. Obviously, it's going to be an interesting season, replacing the quarterback and all that stuff. Their team, to me, man, I look at them. They are crazy potential, but potential means nothing if you can't execute it on Saturdays. What do you make of the Heels this season?
Well, like you just said, they have a lot of talent. I'm looking this stuff up. Here's a problem with their talent. It's super young, right? That's the issue. They have the talent, but it's one of those things where, and this happens in football, where it kind of skips a generation. You don't have it where senior, junior, sophomore, freshman. It's like senior, sophomore, freshman, or senior, sophomore, incoming freshman. So it's like it's a skip there where whoever's up next has very little experience. And so that's what happened. So right now they got a bunch of talent. They got Josh Downs, as we know, the receiver that's coming back, number 11. Small dude, but packs a big punch and dynamite. Big time recruiting Tony Grimes that plays corner. Keyshawn Silver, that's a D lineman. Big time D lineman and Travis Shaw did WREs on these guys. And the big time offensive lineman Zach Rice in there. So, but again, they're young talent. They're big time names. Some of these are 5-star players. But like you look at Tony Grimes, he's only got 20 games under his belt and started as a true freshman, but technically he should have even been in his senior year of high school.
I was going to say 17, yeah.
Yeah, so like he forwent his senior year of high school and came in early. So he, you know what I mean? So, and he started as a true freshman. Yeah. And that's big right there. That's big. Offensively, as we already know, they lose the quarterback in Sam Howell to the NFL. but they're in a quarterback battle right now with Drake May and Jacoby Griswold. Griswold played some last year. He played more, of course, than May did, and he has a little bit more time behind center. You know, you can't say under center anymore, but time behind center.
Yeah.
But they're looking for May to really push this guy, maybe even take the job. So that'll be huge on that side. Defensively for North Carolina, have a lot of experience. Like I said, you got the Tony Grimes back there. What's my man's name right here? Jaquarius Conley, right? They come in, they're younger, they play that nickel star, you know, whatever that nickel position, that hybrid position in their and they're young.
Yeah.
But they have a lot of playing experience. So imagine by next year how good they'll be, because they're only 2 years in, which is great. Now Trey Morrison left and went to Oklahoma, who was their 4-year starter at corner. So that's kind of surprising. I guess that 7-6 record didn't sit well with him. And he like, man, I'm chunking the deuces. I got to dip. You know what I mean? And then at safety, they got Cameron Kelly and Biggers. And here's the interesting part at safety. And I don't know if this is a good thing or bad thing, depending on how you look at this from a coach's standpoint. Their safeties were ranked number 3 and 4 in leading tackles on the team, but they play safety. So, again, are they the reduction safety cleaning the things up here, or are they getting a lot of broken plays on them and they just dragging guys down? So it's all depending on how it looks, the scheme of it all, and everything else, you know. So when it comes to North Carolina, Mack Brown has been around for a long time, right? He's had a lot of guys. I believe he has the administration having his back. They got the Jordan brand. I mean, they have all the bells and whistles you need to be successful. I just think there are a lot of gaps between the recruiting cycles that's hurting those guys. You know what I mean?
Another thing that's going to hurt them is that they lost the safety today to the transfer portal.
Well, did they?
Yeah, his name slipped my mind, but I'm interested too. Gene Chizik is their new defensive coordinator.
Yes.
Come back. Yeah, I appreciate the love, Chris Kane. Sorry, man. Still got to roll with my Buckeyes. But I think he's going to provide structure, because I watched their game. And that NC State game is one that I can't get out of my head. They should have won that game 6 times. And then just missed execution or just miscommunication, guys just running down the field. And they did, from what I saw, they missed tackles. And so, that's, as a coach, you see that, and it's just like, okay, well, they were 3 and 4 in terms of leading tackles, but if they made those tackles, they could have been 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Like you said, you don't know how to put that. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm interested to see if Gene Chizik can bring, if he can develop the talent, and then having Dre Bly, as the corners coach, I think is huge, because I think he's a rising star in the profession. Pittsburgh, new quarterback, lost Kenny Pickett. They actually have some Florida talent as well. They have their top receiver coming back. He won the Biletnikoff. Some could say that was a little controversial, but he's definitely a talented receiver. New receiver coach Taquan Underwood. What do you make of the Panthers?
Well, I mean, they were very good last year, right? So they finished out this section as we do in the Coastal and number 1, right? Kind of fell short in the bowl game against Michigan State. But again, your boy Pickett wasn't playing. He was picking them off out there. And everything now, we were talking about hand size, and they talking about how big his hand is and this, that, and the other. But you know what I find ironic? As big as his hands are, he played with gloves on.
Yeah.
Usually guys with really big hands, they as a quarterback, you like to feel the glove. I know Teddy Bridgewater was one of those guys who played with a glove on, and it kind of helps with the tact on the ball. But for as big as his hands were and he played with a glove, I thought that was kind of ironic, especially they're talking about the size of his hand. But he's in the win. He's headed off to the NFL to bigger and better things. But let's get into them as a whole first. When I looked at Pittsburgh, right, I watched them play, of course, because they're in the conference. They lost 3 games. They lost to the Canes. They lost to Western Michigan. And then, of course, they lost that bowl game to Michigan State. But here's what I realized as I looked at this thing and kind of dug through some stats. Where they struggle is time of possession.
Oh.
And then time of possession is big because even some games that they won, they still were down in the time of possession. They just did more with the ball with less time. But
Right.
when you looked at they played Miami, it was really a 50-50, like 30 minutes each. When they played Western Michigan, 40-20. Will you tell me Western Michigan had the ball 40 minutes, 20 more minutes than they had at Western Michigan? Maybe it was a bad day. Maybe somebody put something in the chicken the night before. I don't know. And that happens, right? That happens in
Yeah.
football. You kind of drop a game. People, the players kind of play down, thinking they're just going to run over some stuff. And then in Michigan State game, they were down 10 minutes, 35-25 in that game.
Right.
So I think if Pat Narduzzi looks at this, he'll really start to say, and I'm going to tell you why that's important. Because when I get to the defensive side, I'm going to show you why that time of possession is so important. The less time you are on the field, the more time the defense is on the field. And
Yeah.
that's where they struggle. Okay. But before I get to the defense, quarterback wise, you got two guys coming in, and Caden Slavis, who transferred from USC. And here's the funny thing. He had 30 touchdowns, 3,500 yards as a freshman for the Trojans. As a freshman. So that says he can play, right? Talent is not an issue. You know what I mean? Finding open guys is not an issue. Putting y'all, and we're talking about a freshman, so that's huge right there. And then the next guy is Nick Patty, who had a chance to play last year because Pickett left out, but ended up breaking his collarbone. And that happens so many times with quarterback. I hate when they get the opportunity to just snatch from them, man. And then, of course, we know Whipple leaves and goes to Nebraska, and Signetti comes in as the new OC, and that's going to change a lot. So the offense is going to change completely. So for people that's in the Coastal thinking you're going to see the same old Pittsburgh, you're not going to see it. It's going to change. So for all these opponents out here, they're going to have to start watching some old Signetti films in order to see what it's going to look like. And then at the running back, they got to help these guys out. They got three-headed monster back there right now, and all three of those running backs last year are coming back, and that's huge right now. I don't want to jack up his name, but I got to read this out carefully. Abanikanda is supposed to be maybe the front runner out of those three, as I looked at it, and so we'll check that out. We'll see, but they got a three-headed monster, and they all have experience because they all pretty much play evenly, and that's big. Defensively, this is why I talked about time on task. Defensively, they will rank 114th in passing yards allowed, right? 114th in passing yards allowed. Okay. And why that's important because if you're not on the field offensively, that means your defense is spending that much more. Think about it. Against West Virginia, they spent, I mean, of course, you got some special team play in there, but you spent 20 more minutes, football minutes, that is now. Yeah. Not on the clock, 20 more football minutes on the field than your offense did. And again, offense dictate the tempo of the game, not defense. So if they're speeding it up, whatever, that's how it goes. And interestingly enough, they got a linebacker that transferred in from Notre Dame named Shane Simon. And so maybe that'd be able to help those guys out a little bit when it comes down to Pittsburgh and Pat Narduzzi and his staff.
Coach, two quick things. Fun stat about Shane Simon. His brother is the starting linebacker at Ohio State. Cody.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Just a little fun fact out of New Jersey. But I have a question for you. The one thing that I've noticed about Pat Narduzzi is this is just me personally. I've never seen him run zone coverage. I've seen specifically man-to-man. They have, I can't remember his name, Hamlin, number 3 of the safety, who's one of the best. I'm not sure if he's coming back or if he declared for the draft, but he's one of the better safeties in the country. And so they consistently run man-to-man. So I was hoping that Pitt somehow, honest to God's truth, I wanted Ohio State to play Pitt because I was like, okay, well, if they're running man-to-man, then
man, mesh routes galore.
We're just the mesh routes. I like CJ Stroud put Jackson Smith and Jigba. We're running mesh routes all day, and then we're going 4 verts with Marvin Harrison Jr. and everything. That's what I was hoping for the bowl game. But how much does the man-to-man, in addition to the defense consistently being on the field, especially, it's one thing like watching them play North Carolina. You know, they were shutting North Carolina down. And then, Pitt, had explosive plays because North Carolina couldn't cover their shadow. And they were on the defense, they were on the field more. But how much does the scheme have anything to do, in your opinion, especially since you've seen them play?
So here's what it is, right? And I'm gonna try and make a parallel here, an analogy to boxing. If you're a person who plays man to man all the time, you have to remember your guys are running full throttle all the time, especially if offense understands that. So when they run you off on routes, you have to cover them with that same intensity as if he's getting the ball, because you don't know when he's getting the ball, right? You don't necessarily have to stalk block people a lot when it comes to, if they're truly playing man, you run them off. Once you get them down the field 15, 20 yards, then you can turn on the block. But they're exerting so much energy over time. That's why you beat. Okay. Then eventually your eyes start getting bad. Why? Man, I done ran 5, 6 verticals. And you have to remember, this is why it's important. The offense can bring in 4 different receivers and put them at the same position, but you're going to leave your best DB out there to cover these 4 different guys who are constantly being fresh. Plays happen. But here's my parallel with boxing. When you play man, the offense can jab you to death, and you're constantly trying to dodge haymakers, right? You understand what I mean? I can dink and dunk, run 4 yards, 40 yards down the field every play, 40 yards down the field. And the offense just jabbing, you constantly making big, and you wear yourself down. And then eventually, when you say, oh, man, I ain't dodging that like that, boom, come across with the right hook, and you sleep. And that's what happened when you live in that. When you play zone, most things are in front of you. You can see it's a run. You can throttle down and play forward instead of having to run backwards, then run back forward, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and then you got little things like the wheel routes that can get you, because you get the matchups on the linebackers and you can overcommit, or whatever the case might be.
Off. I don't think they call pick routes at all. I don't think referees don't even.
They have
really
all one in the national championship game.
Really?
Yeah,
I gotta see that.
They have more so, and granted, sometimes it's just so obvious, that you have to call it. But yeah, they have. I have seen it. That they've been called it more. So we got 11 minutes left, or about 10 minutes.
Real quick, something I just want to say this. We got 69 in the building. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Let's get this thing out. I know I blasted the YouTube channel today. I put out 14 videos. I broke down that last segment, all of these things, and we're going to do that again. We want to blow this thing up. Pass this along to other people that that like these teams, and we're doing all conferences. Let's go ahead and get into it, man. I'm ready for your questions.
It's all about the U. Tell me about the U. So I know you're set at quarterback. Really know you're set at running back. Because every running back that plays high school football in Miami is pretty much committed, playing. I'm really pumped to see Chaney Jr.
That was just one of my players.
Chaney.
No, some of the comment.
Oh, Ronnie, appreciate you. My question, got 2 questions. I want to start off with the offensive line. And I want to start tight. So I'm tight end and offensive line.
Okay.
Last year, before the season, I was told that you had a first round, a top 5 pick at right. I kid you not. Hey, I'm kidding you. I kid you not.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yes. And then I watched the Alabama game. And so, listen, I'm never going to clown on a college athlete, but I was trying to figure out, it honestly was like, because everybody has a bad game, but I didn't see top 5. And then we talked about it, just the play calling and just everything. Now, I don't know what we're going to get from Mario, because technically I have no idea what offense he runs. It's depending on who is the offense coordinator. All I know is just a bunch of RPOs. But what can we expect from that offensive line and the tight end position?
I have to say this, and I didn't get a chance to see it. I just saw right before we went live that the offensive line coach, Alex Mirabal, was talking about how he was impressed with the offensive line so far. Today was their first day in pads. But what I strongly believe, I can't say with 100% certainty because I'm not in those rooms, that we're going to see a more physical offensive line.
Okay.
Right? You still can run zone plays and be physical. You don't have to just get in the way and say, hey, my man didn't make the tackle. I think we're going to see a lot more physical offensive line play, and I think we're going to see more cognitive offensive line play. I think our guys are going to be a little bit more brighter when it comes to blitz pickups, stunts, twist, those type of things. So that's what we're going to see from the offensive line. And I think the continuity is going to take some time, but I think we can kind of skate away, especially in our first 2 games, by playing Bethune-Cookman. I believe it's Southern Miss, those first 2 games, and really work on that, including the summer and spring ball camps.
So let me ask you this. In your opinion, as a coach, knowing the roster that you have some talent at receiver, obviously some transfers, some young guys. Tell me this. In your coaching opinion, I just said it, just listen, I was working, with the Ohio State publication when they were getting ready to play Oregon. The only thing I saw was the RPO. And that's just from knowing Joe Moorhead, because when Joe Moorhead was at Penn State, I knew about his offenses because it lit Ohio State up a few years back with McSorley and Saquon Barkley and those boys. What offense do you think fits the talent that is on Miami? If you had to pick a specific scheme that you think would perfectly suit this roster, what would it be?
I don't think we could be a great RPO team just because of the kind of quarterback. Yes, TVD can run, but he's not I look at him with the speed of an Aaron Rodgers type, right?
He's
not
mobile.
necessarily he's mobile and he can run, he can get you some first downs, but I don't think he's going to really kill somebody in open field with his feet. Now, can he run and get great yardage? Definitely. He's shown he can do that. I think you can sprinkle a little RPO game in there just to keep people honest. Just like, that's the new play action in essence, just to keep people honest. I really think we're good on both ends. We can truly be balanced with a real run heavy, meaning when I say heavy, I mean literally physically with our tight ends. If you want to bring in some 12 personnel with 2 tight ends at times and even 1 receiver and just go real heavy, because you have to remember defenses are recruiting lighter now, right? And so now we can get some people movers in there and make it happen. And then you can come in there and you can go 5 wide because we have enough guys in the receiver room and tight end room that can do that as well. Here's the best part about it. We can come out in one package. Check this package out. I'm just going to throw this out there and I'm going to leave it at that. And I missed the tight end, so I'm going to go back and say that. And there's the thing called personnel, and then there's a thing called pictures, okay? Personnel means when the spotter upstairs looks down, he sees Will Mallory, he sees Elijah Arroyo, right? And then he sees Bashard. Let's just say Knighting out there, right? Let's just say Knighting. Rooster. So what does he see? 12 personnel. So they start getting that 12 personnel package together. They line up 2 tight ends, Rooster in the backfield, two receivers. Shift and go to 5 wide. Because Elijah Arroyo is elusive enough to run routes, right? Will Mallory is elusive enough, and Knighting is elusive enough. All of those guys can play receiver. But imagine what that does to a defensive mind who has to now, you got to prepare all that within a couple of days of practice. So it can be very multiple in that sense.
Ryan, I would love to see that, because that's something that Ryan Day does. He'll do it opposite. He'll line them up, and then you switch back to 12 personnel. You got Henderson coming around the wheel, and then you have Olave running the post, and then you have the tight ends. They kind of split. And if it's not Olave, if it's not Henderson, it's the tight end that everybody doesn't expect because they think they're just a blocking tight end. And so if you have the personnel to do that, you can be, like you said, very creative, in your approach, especially with these athletic tight ends, especially since they can be mismatches on linebackers.
Right. And then to talk about mismatches, I know I skipped the tight end piece earlier.
Don't worry about it, because we're getting
but I'm going to talk about Will Mallory, right? He can catch. He has to improve on his blocking, but you got to do like Elijah Arroyo, and I ain't even brought up the young gangster, Jaleel Skinner, right?
Oh, yeah.
Jaleel Skinner, right? So I can't really say what his blocking is like. I saw it in high school. Sometimes that's not a true test, but I know he's an aggressive guy. And again, all these think about it, you going there almost like Stanford with 3 tight end set and they empty that thing out and it looked totally different, man. But I'm super excited, but I just don't think we're going to be a true RPO team in that sense.
Defense, I'm going to ask you the same question. Just from the guys that I saw last year, Miami has playmakers on the defensive side of the ball, especially in the back end. And it seems like, they're just adding more. You got James Williams, that 6'5" guy who can kind of do a little bit of everything. You got Kitchens, Cameron Kitchens. If I messed up his last name, I apologize. You got some younger players in the back end. Mario has done a great job of recruiting. So far, obviously, you won't see it on the field for this class, but the 2023 class is looking very promising for Miami because they're in the mix for a lot of prospects and they're definitely interested in the culture that he's building. What can we expect from the defense? And if there was a scheme, and really, yeah, I can say that if there was a scheme that you feel like would fit the athletic playmakers, what would it be? Just from an outsider's point of view, I would love to see just a more physical front seven that kind of brings the heat, disrupts the run, and then it allows the freak athletes on the back end to just do their thing and just make plays.
So to answer your question, what kind of scheme? I know it's going to sound crazy. Easy scheme. Don't outthink our players. Let the athleticism show its head, right? I tell people all the time, as more your brain is thinking, the less your feet are moving, right? Make it very simple. It doesn't have to be so complex. Sometimes as coaches, what do? We want to make it so complex to seem like we're a genius, we're a guru, but the dudes got to do the thing. You can't go past the white line. You understand? Right. Leave that genius talk for the coaching clinic. Impress them. They got a coaching clinic coming up. Impress the coaches. But guess what? When you get on the field, let's make it simple. As the old coach is saying is, kids, keep it simple, stupid, and let your athleticism shine. And you talked about our front seven, right? And that's something where I think we're going to hurt a little bit. And that's on the edges. I think on the inside, we'll be okay. Defensive end wise, Zach Morris. I'm thinking Saved by the Bell. Zach McCloud. I don't know why. Saved by the Bell comes to my mind, right? But Zach McCloud, I hate to say this, but our fan base, he was just kind of the whooping kid, man. Everybody whipped him around because maybe he didn't pan out. But guess what? He ended last year changing his position, going to defensive end, making 5.5 sacks. Right? He outplayed the guys who play there. DeAndre Johnson comes in from Tennessee. He's got 4.5 sacks, but unfortunately, we lose those guys. We got other guys coming in like Jafari Harvey and so forth, but we're really young in that position. We got a young Nigel Kelly, and we got a young Cyrus Moss. But again, they're young. What you did in high school, that don't transfer. And I know I just saw some footage of Cyrus Moss. This is not a knock. I'm just talking about the reality of this game. Cyrus Moss got pancaked in that practice film, but that's because there were a lot of things wrong in technique and those type of things. He has to learn that stuff. Not saying he's soft. It's just, when it's battle for battle, you got to win it with up here through your technique and through your mind. And those are the things he has to learn. And as true freshman, I have to say on our edges, we're going to be in trouble. Linebacker play, super excited about Charlie Strong being a linebacker coach. We have some talent there. I know people tell me, our linebackers are bad. I hate knocking other coaches, but sometimes it may be the teacher. There's a reason they recruited them.
You preach to the choir. Yes. Listen, I mean, if there's any Ohio State fans in the building, do you know, there's a GoFundMe to get a new line? There was a GoFundMe to get a new linebackers coach before.
But Al Washington?
Oh, yeah. He was a great recruiter, but they, I thought it was okay. Now, listen, the linebackers didn't do nothing last year, but I think it was an overall. Yeah. I thought there were bigger issues, and then Billy Davis, prior to their best linebackers, was when Greg Madison came back without Washington. The thing about Miami, before we wrap it up, we're gonna have another question. You mentioned Zach McCloud, and one of the things that I've seen, and maybe I think part of the reason that some of the fans' expectations, Miami fans, I'm not calling you out, I think this is just a general issue, is we look at, and I hate this. Drives me insane. Just gonna bring Ohio State example. CJ Hicks. I love CJ Hicks. I think CJ Hicks, I've looked at what he's done in the weight room, and from what I'm hearing, he's coming along. But everybody looks at the WRE video that you did of him. Everybody looks at, how well he did at the Under Armour Combine and how well he did at the All-American Games and all this other stuff. He needs to start day one. He has to start. He's a 5-star. There's a reason he's talented. But the thing about it is we take away the development aspect of it. And some of these kids are projects. Like they have traits of God-given athleticism. And if you put together the natural ability to play the position with the athleticism, then you for sure have an All-American. But then there are times where you have like anchors. And I think we look at like a 5-star or a high 4-star. So that needs to equate to 10, 15 sacks. But a guy, like Zach McLeod, you may not get 10, 15 sacks, but you may only get 2 yards on his side in a run play because he controlled the edge. You know what I'm saying? Or he set up, the intangibles, or he set up his teammate to get a sack. Because I see it all the time in football. Somebody may have 3 sacks, but the first thing I'm seeing is, God, he got off the ball fast, and the quarterback had to step up in the pocket, and then someone else got the sack. Do you kind of feel the same way, or from a coaching perspective, am I off base in what I'm thinking?
No, what you're speaking is fandom, right? A lot of people think because this is going to happen, you're going to come in right away. I tell people, like you said, a lot of people are. Here's the problem that kills me. You want them to start right away, but we're not developing them. Those guys have to learn that stuff. And you have to remember, a lot of high school players are so good. They're so much better than their opponents in high school. They get away with a lot of foolishness, i.e. Cyrus Moss. Not saying foolishness, but lack of technique or fundamentals. But because he's 6'5", 220 pounds, and poor little Timmy just can't handle him, I don't care if Cyrus Moss was sitting down with his legs crossed, he's still going to beat him. But now you go in there, I forgot the offensive lineman's name, who wasn't highly touted. I'm going to see if I can pull it up real quick. If somebody let me know in the chat who it was. But he wasn't a starter of to my knowledge or anything. I mean, just straight demolished him. Yeah. But that's because his feet were up underneath him. A lot of things he did was wrong because he has to learn that. So yes, you're spot on from your perspective, and we got to stop we got to stop thinking that this one 5-star kid that's 17 is going to be the answer versus a 23-year-old young man that got to pay taxes, probably got a wife and 2 kids at home, and he's trying to make it to the league. People don't think about that now.
when you got something to play for, like when you have a full grasp of the world, it makes a difference, and then you're more developed as a man. You naturally have that grown man strength in addition to the weight room stuff that you do. Last question: a freshman on offense and a freshman on defense that you're looking forward to seeing.
A true freshman?
Yeah.
All right, I love it. Okay, a true freshman that I love to see on offense. I hate to say it, but I do want to see Ja'Curry Brown play. Now, I don't want to see him. I know he's not a starter, but I do want to see him come in, and I don't want him to get shuffled down so much. I want him to come in and really play. I know that's an easy answer, but he's got all of the talent, all of the abilities. But I did listen to one of the things today, and Frank Ponce was talking about it. He's got to learn it, right? He's got to learn it. And I did a breakdown about our coaches speak, and Frank Ponce kind of came out today and said, there's some things that he missed, some things are kind of going fast for him, but you can't beat game experience. And again, I tell people this: you're always an injury away from being a starter. So even if TVD goes here, Jay Garcia, he may be his backup next year. I want him to have some game experience so he's not just missing out in a seamless transition. That's offensively. Defensively, a true freshman that I would like to see. I would like to see Ahmad Moten, the defensive lineman. Now, here's the thing, and he's a real Mario Cristobal pick. He's not a carryover from Manny Diaz. We had some guys who carried over, like a Ja'Curry Brown, who Manny Diaz recruited, and Mario sealed the deal and kept him around and so forth. But Ahmad Moten is my pick. I call it a Potts player, pop off the tape player, right? Like last year was Chase Smith. This year is my Ahmad Moten. Now, will it be tough for him? Yeah, that's a different beast in there between them guards now. but I want to see him because he is technically sound in high school. He didn't just use his strength and his size to dominate. He was using technique, even on Poe Lil Timmy. So those are my two guys for so far as true freshmen stepping on the green tree field, baby. Go Canes, baby. Come on.
Here's my final analysis.
All right.
It's going to be a problem if Miami doesn't come out of this division.
As the leaders? As the winning the Coastal?
Yes. Every team we've mentioned has glaring issues. And Miami, even with the new coach, has enough. But they're not like, oh my gosh, you know what I'm saying? Like there's not, you're not breaking in a new quarterback. You got running backs coming back. You got a better offensive line coach who actually coaches physicality. So you got to upgrade there. You got to upgrade at the linebacker, especially when it comes to recruiting and at the position and on the defense and stuff like that. Special teams, you're fine. You know, you got athletes, you got transfers and stuff like that. Every other team we've broken down. Virginia Tech, offense, good defense, don't know about offense. North Carolina, don't know about offense. We hope they have a better defense. You don't know what you're getting from Virginia. You don't know, well, you know what you're getting from Duke. They're not gonna, you know, unless something miraculous happens. Now, granted, like I said, you got 50 dudes coming back. You know, you can't make up for experience. So, you know, maybe they can shock some people. And there's talent on that Georgia Tech roster. So, you know, maybe, you know, when you got Jeff Sims, he has another year under his belt in the system and stuff like that. But you're breaking in a new running back and you're still trying to change this program, you know, from a culture that it's been for so many years. But, you know, they're getting some transfers. They got some good transfers on defense and offense. But realistically speaking, and then Pittsburgh has talent. Don't get me wrong. You know,
they got a lot of newness. They got a lot of newness.
But there's a lot of newness. There's a lot of unknown. So, like I said, you're looking at the team, and Miami here's the thing about their young guys, and I know we're running late. But I'll just say this. Their young guys got on the field and got meaningful snaps last year.
Brashard Smith, Keyshawn Smith. Yes. I want Chase Smith to get some more burn, though. Huh? Coach Strong. I'm talking to you, Coach Strong.
He's a freak athlete.
He was my first pop player. Pop off the tape.
He was, because that was the defensive end, mossing people and knocking people's head off. I remember that one. So I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying.
Here it is. I'm going to say this in conclusion so we can wrap this up. Coach Hayes, as a Miami Hurricane fan, I don't give any expectations. I hear what you're saying. And when this mic is off and these headphones are off, I may have some of the same sentiments as you have. I get it. Okay. But publicly speaking, I don't. And I simply say this for maybe we got some new listeners out here. I say this simply because I want them to build the expectation. When we build expectations, if you get let down, then now what happens? My thing is this. This is his first year. He got an open wallet. He got new players. They got pools or whatever they're going to build or all they're going to do it. So whatever the bar goes to at the end of this year one, whether it's 3-9 or it's 9-3 or 11 or even a national championship, however we do it, that's where the bar remains. And that's all I ask. Okay. Now, year two, Coach Hayes is going to have some expectations because you showed me what you are. You showed me who you are. We know the talent here. I'm just saying what I don't want to do is, because we did the same thing to Manny Diaz last year. Oh, we got all this talent. We only lost two guys going to the draft, the two defensive ends and the tight end, Brevin Jordan. We're going 11-1. Everybody up and all. Everybody drinking green and orange beer and blah, 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 and going bananas. And we end up being 7-5.
That's fair. That's fair. That is fair. All right. Okay. I'll give it to you as someone who does not, as someone who's not a Miami fan and does not care. I'm just saying.
Hey man, we got some hitters in here now, though, Dom. You got to be careful now. We got some hitters in here now.
I was introduced when I came up in here with that Ohio State shirt on a Sunday night. So, we ready for whatever. But no, I think, like I said, as someone who is not invested, from an outsider's point of view, even if you do not see, and I will say this about Mario, he cannot have the lapses that he did at Oregon.
I agree with that.
You cannot lose to Utah the same way both times.
Or 3-8 Stanford.
Yes, where they physically kick your teeth in.
Or 3-8 North Carolina, right? Like, make the equation, right?
And
we can't lose those games.
Is how they lost, because there's like, how do you beat Ohio State? But you get, and that's listen. I told you the other week, Utah is my pick to come out of Pac-12 because those are some grown men out there. But you can't lose that way twice in this division, or
right.
If you lose to Clemson, and I know Miami fans are gonna like this, but if Florida State can make this competitive and they can enhance, as they're building and stocking talent and stuff like that, as long as it's crazy competitive and stuff like that, but he cannot have those lapses here at Miami. It's just not gonna sit. Other than that, I think he'll be fine.
He'll be fine. Listen, great show tonight, man. I appreciate you. We always try to keep it right at the hour, but sometimes brothers talk a little bit. That's what we do. Listen, man, if you are a subscriber, you on here and you got your bell on, I blew your phone up today. I've been dropping the videos, and we're gonna do it again here. We're gonna drop each one of these little segments about the teams we talked about. If you know somebody that happened to be a fan of one of these teams, share it. Send it to them. Tell them subscribe. We want this to be big. We're trying to get Coach Hayes Football. This is the network, not the YouTube channel, the YouTube network. Because we're going to put a bunch of shows on here. Coach Me Coach Podcast, the WREs, the Canes Talk Live. We want to do some other things here, man. We want to fill you up. If you're a football junkie, like I'm a football junkie, and you need your fix, that might be the name of the show, The Fix. And you need your fix, then guess what? We're here to give it to you. So we're going to bring in a lot of different guys to do that. But again, appreciate everybody being here. Currently got 100 in the building. So why not 100 likes? It's free. Come on, gas prices through the roof. Coach Gill, let's give you free content, free subscribe button, free notification bells. Take something free today, man, when gas costs $5 a gallon. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, with all that being said, thank you so much, Dom, as always. Thank you guys for hanging out with us, man. We'll be back again Tuesday night, 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Check us out. And with all that, man, I appreciate you. And we'll break this up. And thank you guys so much. And see you next week. Peace.